Hello everyone. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Today I'm going to be talking about multiple intelligences. Um, it has been known for a very long time that no one way of teaching works for everyone and that each student does have their own ways of learning. Some students do well watching videos, listening to teachers speak. Some students do well working with their hands, and some students do well reading what needs to be learned and working from there. In 1983, Dr. Howard Gardner came up with the theory of multiple intelligences. This theory was based off his belief that an IQ test is too restrictive and limiting. There had to be more out there than just IQ. Before going on throughout this entire thing, it needs to be stressed that intelligence and learning styles can be different. While intelligence can be, visual or mathematical, learning styles may be that a person will take a reflective approach or something along those lines. Now, first one I'm going to discuss is linguistic intelligence. Well-developed verbal skills. People have well-developed verbal skills and sensitivity to the sounds, meanings, and rhythms of words. It refers to an individual's ability to analyze information and produce work that involves oral and written language, such as speeches, books, and emails. A person with linguistic intelligence can go through a country with a different language, or can go to a country with a different language, and has an easier time learning the language while living there. Reference of going native, in essence, where you go there and you pick up the language as you're talking to people and kind of doing that. A logical mathematical intelligence. This is the ability to think conceptually and abstractly and the capacity to discern logical or numerical patterns. This type of person can see patterns in numbers and can recognize, as an example, the Fibonacci sequence in places others just see a flower or a plant. I actually saw a video a while back where there was a child, when he was growing up, he would sit there and he would watch the world around him. Well, as he's watching, branches move and the trees move, he's seeing mathematical equations of how this is going on. That would be a type of logical or mathematical intelligence. Also, just like I said, looking at a plant or a flower, there are multiple flowers where it has the Fibonacci sequence therein. Spatial intelligence. This one is the capacity to think in images and pictures, to visualize accurately and abstractly. This type of person can visualize maps, topographical and otherwise. This person also recognizes the spatial relationship between objects. This one, you can say that where somebody likes to, and there's a type of art form where where people will stack rocks, and it's perfectly balanced. It won't tip over, won't fall over. The person that has spatial intelligence, that represents that type of intelligence, where they can take those rocks, stack them up, and they will stay there. They will not fall over, tumble, or anything like that unless they are pushed or some other thing comes along which forces them to topple over. Bodily or kinesthetic intelligence. The ability to control one's body movements and to handle objects skillfully. A juggler is the easiest way of saying that one, where they understand their body. Or people that are gymnasts, athletes, they have more of a bodily kinesthetic intelligence. They like to use their hands also when working on projects. So people that are hands-on are more likely bodily or kinesthetic intelligent. Musical intelligence. The ability to produce and appreciate rhythm, pitch, and timbre. This type of person can learn an instrument more easily. They can hear music and then recreate it, or have an easier time being able to find a sequence of music that works well. So people that are more musically inclined, where they'll take a sample of, let's say, a classical piece of music and work it into a techno sound, or turn it into more rock, is somebody that has would probably have a higher musical intelligence. Someone who would fit into this category would most likely be Mozart. Interpersonal intelligence. the capacity to detect and respond appropriately to the moods, motivations, and desires of others. This type of person can look at somebody else and watch body language, their facial features and listen to someone's voice and be able to decipher their mood. They can see when people are being deceitful and can also look into group situations and see the dynamics at work. So a person that, I have a friend that is able to just look at somebody and go, that person's sad, and you can ask them and they say, well, you can see by just a hint of their mouth, there's a little bit of a frown. They can look at somebody's eyes and they can tell that even though this person's putting on a smile, they might actually be sad. That's an interpersonal intelligence, where they can just look and they can see how other people are feeling. This is also, in essence, empathy in a way, where you can tell how other people are feeling. Intrapersonal intelligence is the capacity to be aware, self-aware, and in tune with their inner feelings, values, beliefs, and thinking processes. Whereas interpersonal intelligence is others. Intrapersonal is the ability to recognize those feelings, motivations, quirks within themselves, and can tell when they are not being truthful to themselves. So, where somebody might be going, no, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling this. This person could look and go, no, I'm not actually feeling this. What is going on with myself? Why am I feeling this way? And they can work from there. A naturalist intelligence is the ability to recognize and categorize plants, animals, and other objects in nature. Where someone sees a flower or a plant or a tree, a person with a naturalist intelligence can look at those flowers, those plants or trees, and tell the difference between them. They have a greater understanding of the natural world around them. So if this type of person was to walk into, let's say, a forest and there's several different types of trees, they can look at that and they can go, and they would look at the leaves or the bark or the type of sap, and they'd be able to go, well, no, this is slightly different than this because of, and go from there. So what does this mean for education, educators, and students? Well, in Morenus' article called Gardner's Theory of Multiple Intelligences, it's pointed out that the best way to help teach students while learning while using the theory of multiple intelligences is through individualization and pluralization. In the article, it states that while having one teacher teach one student individually is, in essence, safe for the rich, there is still a chance to make activities for individuals in a classroom setting. Pluralization is the idea where topics and skills should be taught in more than just one way. In more than one way, end quote. You can have an activity that allows for the use of visual, kinesthetic, and musical. At the same time, that kinesthetic could also incorporate spatial and mathematical intelligences if it has to do with balancing or building. So, the example that I wrote here is having students build a house of cards would encompass visual, kinesthetic, mathematical, and spatial intelligences, because all those intelligences are required. Incorporating music into it, like a small boombox to see how loud or how much bass is needed to have it fall, would incorporate the musical aspect, and also see if there's certain frequencies that might cause it to collapse as well. The idea on this one is that you put a boombox on a table, you build a house of cards. You then turn on the boombox and have the bass down at its lowest setting. Does the sound itself disrupt the house of cards and make it fall? If you turn the music louder, will that make it fall? If you have the volume low but turn up the bass a little bit, will that make it fall? How does this entire thing work? An interpersonal intelligence person would be able to tell who should work with who in the group. So they could tell, well, this person works really well with this person, or or something along those lines. Intrapersonal intelligence could tell if their body would be able to be steady enough to be able to help hold the cards, or if their hands are too shaky, but could help in other ways by utilizing their own experiences in the past and explaining it to others. If there were other materials being used that came in from nature, the person or people who have a higher naturalist intelligence could suggest materials to help hold the cards together and even keep them up longer. They might suggest using like a sap to kind of glue the cards together. That would be one way. Not every activity will be able to incorporate every intelligence. Not every learning style will be suited towards every type of intelligence either. The key is to find out about your students first and foremost and figure out what type of intelligence best suits them. And I'm not just saying just one intelligence, use that, but find out the range that they have. From there, find or create activities that can maximize their intelligence or use of intelligence while maximizing their learning potential. Realize that not every activity will be liked and that the activity may have to be modified, tweaked, or just thrown out if it doesn't work at all. An example of this is if you're teaching history and you have a group who are more naturally inclined, take the class outside for a couple of sessions so they feel more comfortable while doing an activity that can involve another type of intelligence. And these are the works that were cited, the different articles or pages that I've used. Now, going back to here about the different uses and finding out about your students, it's not going to be an instantaneous thing. It's going to take time, especially learning about activities, especially creating activities. And as a teacher once said, it took him years to work one of his activities out until the students actually liked it. But the years before, the students didn't like it. But here's the other thing about this. Ask them. Ask your students what they liked about it. Ask your students what they didn't like about it. And figure things out from there. And realize that each year is going to be different. But sooner or later, an activity that kind of worked but they didn't like, you can modify it to something that is enjoyable. You can do that. And that is the end of this. I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you.